Good evening, everybody. It's 6:30 p.m. Today's October 15th, 2019. It's a regularly scheduled meeting of the Marquette Township Board, and we are going to say the pledge if you'll join us. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I had visions of all these people at home standing up and saying the pledge with us. All right, roll call, Randy.
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Trustee Wiegand.
Present.
Trustee Everson.
Here.
Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Treasurer Johnson.
Here.
Clerk Atari is here, and Supervisor Duran.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Gerard, our legal counsel Roger Zappa, our new Superintendent of Public Works John Kangas is here, our new staff planner Ryan Diedrichson is here, and committee members present is Mike Springer from Planning, Recreation, and Roads.
Good job. Okay. Why don't you do public comment? Why don't you introduce yourself right at the beginning? And if you want to stay, you can, and if you don't want to, rather than make you wait till the end. Come on up to the microphone. Yeah, introduce yourself.
We'll get out of here about 11.
Yeah, as you know, my name is Ryan Diedrichson. I've had the pleasure to meet a few of you over here in the office and just in passing. I think this is my third week here so far at the township. So far, it's great. I love coming in every day, and it's going to be getting faster and faster, and really looking forward to that. It's just a little bit about me, so.
Well, give us some background. So you do have a planning background, obviously.
Yes, I graduated from Northern Michigan University 2018 in environmental science and water resources, GIS. Experience there as well. I've had some time with Negaunee Township, working with the planning department there, doing some GIS inventory, working with engineers. The past year has really helped to evolve into where I'm at today. So it's been a good mixed bag of planning, engineering, technician work, GIS. So I'm excited to use all of that one way or another.
So they threw you into the asset management program right away? And
Threw me in the mix. Yeah, it's getting.
you and John can kind of flounder together? Okay.
The ball's rolling.
Good.
Ryan came to us from UPEA. It was with them, and we've already been chastised severely by Mark Davatala.
Oh. Good.
They're
Well,
good
We just
guys.
basically told him, you snooze, you lose, that's all. So,
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome. Thanks. All right. We didn't have any other public comment. John's still kind of public, Mike's public, but if you wanted to share anything, don't want to cut anybody off. All right, next up is the consent agenda. Tonight, that includes approval of the regular meeting minutes of October 1st and work session minutes of October 1st. Bills payable in the amount of $185,552.05. We have reports from the sheriff's activity for September, fire department officers meeting draft minutes of September 9th, and their business meeting minutes of the same night, draft minutes. Fire department activity report from September financial statements, and we do have a budget amendment that we can have Randy read shortly, 2019-08. So I just need,
I'll move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
okay? Read that.
Yeah, and I'll point out that Lois pointed out to me that we'll probably move the budget amendments under the financials because that's more appropriate than bills payable, really. So that's where they'll be as from this point forward.
So how do we do with reading that or addressing them? Or?
It's the same. It's just a different part in the.
Okay, so you
and-
still want to be able to read
Yeah,
them?
we'll read it. And it's Budget Amendment 2019-08. Authorization is requested for September through December training for the new Public Works Superintendent position. Also included is estimated year-end vacation payouts for the current position. The split is between the funds 45, 45, and 10%. The offset will come from contingency, and then you can see the amounts there.
Okay. And we just need a roll call then to cover both of those.
Okay, Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee Marks?
Yes.
Trustee LaRue?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Durant?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you for that. And no one's notified me of any conflicts of interest in this meeting. So staff reports tonight.
Well, I'll move to accept
yes,
the
the rest of the
agenda
agenda.
as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks.
Lynn?
Sir?
I just had one comment on the minutes from last meeting. You had Dave, I think it's a typo, you had Dave as present and he was absent. If you wanted to make a note of that.
I can look at it.
Okay.
But I missed it too when I proved it.
I think I did have him listed as absent on the top.
Might have been
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah, it was on the top.
Yeah. But we'll look at it.
Thanks for that. Okay, back to staff reports. I have a board action sample or example, a form that we had talked a few meetings ago about having recommended motions from anybody that submitted an item for the agenda, because we do struggle sometimes knowing exactly what is proper to say, or what has to be included, do the amounts need to be in there, who's the proper signer, and everything like that. So Randy Rattari brought one from the city as an example, and he was gonna present it to you, and it was pretty generic, it just had 2 or 3 lines. And I thought, well, I went back to what our planner uses, not staff planner, our planning administrator uses when he does his, and actually the superintendent of public works sometimes includes it in this type of format. So I just put everything down. I put the agenda item number, what the proposal is, who's bringing it to you, and I just thought it might be a good form to use, and I did end up using it as a sample inside as well. But I ended up put this in as an action item for staff reports, which is fine. So I didn't know if anybody cared if we use this, or you don't like it, or you had any different ideas.
Well, it would, from the clerk's point of view, it would be easier to put the agenda together, and it would be easier to track things.
So it
For
would be
me.
attached, if I were to submit something, or we had one, on NTN today, just whoever's doing it, fill it out, and it becomes part of the packet.
Well, how I see this working, if the board approves it, we'll send it out to the department heads. Then they'll just use this form along with their agenda items, kind of like,
They'll use it more than we will.
yeah, they'll use it more than the board will, but it will be in the packet wherever an agenda item is. The only time it wouldn't be used is if you had an agenda item that came up, an emergency item or something, but any regular agenda item this would be used for. And we don't approve anything really in the consent agenda, other than bills payable, so I don't see this being used in the consent agenda either. Now, the city does a lot of approving in the consent agenda that we don't. And they have this form, their own form in the consent agenda, and when they approve it, it's out. But we don't usually do that. We usually approve the items outside of that,
Action items.
action items, so. But I don't have a problem with it, and I think if the board is amenable to it, we could try it for a while and see how it goes.
If it doesn't work, or if we need to add or subtract.
How about the manager? What's your feel for it?
Whatever the board wishes to do, we will do. Simple.
Need a motion, Randy, or do you want to just try it as a?
Well, I guess I can make a motion that we approve the form for agenda submittal items moving forward.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
So I'll send that out tomorrow to the to every staff member, and then if they have an item for the agenda, they can use this form and we'll move forward.
So you want the form for action items, basically?
Just action items, yeah.
Okay.
So is it something that has to be on the website too, if somebody,
Not really,
No.
because
So it's
it'd
more
be
internal.
internal use.
just thinking. Okay. Fire department report.
Yeah, the chief is not going to be here this evening. The county firefighters meeting is going on this evening. The chief and the assistant chief are both participating in that. With regard to the fire department, and I'll yield the floor to Trustee Everson if he wants to add anything, but we have completed the agreement with the city for maintenance, so that is in place. It's ready to go. Both governing bodies have acted on it. The boots and the helmets that were discussed previously have been ordered. And I guess beyond that, we've just been busy.
Fire Prevention Week was good. Everything went well.
I missed your picture in the tabloid, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
You just put the building picture. Maybe you couldn't get everybody together.
I thought they had it.
Yeah, we took a specific picture to be submitted.
Yeah, they should have had it.
Huh.
They just showed us the building itself.
Yeah, kind of an aerial. Jason must have taken something with the drone or something, because it was kind of up and down.
Yeah,
Looked
he had,
nice.
he had pulled the troops together and took a picture of the guys out in front of the building. So, not sure what happened there. But
Okay.
that's really all that I had for the fire department. Dan, Chief Shanahan didn't have anything in particular that he wanted to bring outside of the reports that were submitted.
Okay. How about Public Works? Do we have anything to share or talk about?
John, did you want to give an update on that sewer connection with the roundabouts?
Certainly.
Yep, we just talked about that, so that'd be good.
So that sewer issue was resolved as of today. They ended up replacing a section of the sewer underneath the highway. We're talking the highway crossing from the Meyer convenience store. Had a significant belly in the pipe. Excuse me, was deemed unacceptable upon review of the videotapes. We had 3 different videos done of that. The first and the third were very clearly unacceptable. The second looked good because they had jetted it right before they videotaped it. But you could still tell that the pipe was sloped in the wrong direction. So the portion of the pipe that was sloped in the wrong direction was removed. The manhole immediately downstream of that was moved to the north, and then a new line was run from there to the existing manhole that had previously been connected to. So until we see the new video, we believe that that was properly resolved today, and it was installed via open cut method this time, so using a laser on the pipe. Actually, I think they probably shot it with GPS as they went. So we're just waiting for new televising to be done, and then hopefully we can put that issue behind us.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, John,
Dave? Hang on.
I'm out.
I heard both sides, I wasn't sure.
question, who foots the bill on all that? We got a lot of staff time and everything else invested in that. Who
So
foots the bill?
I guess there hasn't been a specific bill prepared at this point, but regarding the pipe replacement itself, that's either Meyer or Lindbergh, we don't know who is going to pay for it. Regarding our staff, I spent maybe an hour total on site from the moment I first was informed of the issue until today. It was about a half hour the first day, a half hour today, and then Barry's been out there on site pretty much almost nonstop as far as I know anyway, due to all of the infrastructure that's being replaced as part of the project. So
Who did the televising?
that would have been Tunnel Vision out of Escanaba.
They do that for us, or did they do it for Myers?
They did it for Myers, and they will be doing it for Meyer again.
Yeah, they're footing the bill on that. Contractor's footing the bill.
Okay.
The township hasn't spent anything other than staff time on this.
Actually,
thanks.
the majority of the staff time that's been spent on it has been inspecting the work that they're doing to make sure it complies with our requirements.
Which we would kind of do anyway.
We always do, yeah.
How important is the camera to have something like every,
I think it's probably the most important piece of evidence when you're looking at underground gravity sewer systems, because it will show you whether or not you have an issue with the pipe. It's written into our sanitary sewer specifications, so
our township don't have one, correct?
we do
We
not.
don't have one.
No.
We do not.
It's
It
usually-
certainly would be a piece of equipment that's worth investing in at some point, but it's not cheap. So we'll look into that down the road.
And the majority of the time this is done, it's on a contractor's dime.
So why would we want to buy that then?
Well, for our own use.
Because a lot of
basically.
times you have a problem in the line in front or going towards the house or something like that.
Not necessarily a project, okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it would be on the miles of existing system that we have. As we're going through this asset management stuff, if we wanted to verify something ourselves, we could do it fairly affordably once you make the initial investment. But like all technology, that gets old too, so.
Right, and full
Pros
disclosure,
and cons.
we have contracted with Tunnel Vision before for our own purposes.
Is that like 5,000 or 50,000? Just
I think the
ballpark?
second number is closer.
Yeah, it's a fairly expensive piece of equipment. Usually it takes at least two people to operate, one on each end, running it through.
But sometimes you just, like plumbers and that, they have one, they can just go in the line, because that's how we found out in my house, the pipe on the end has got burrs on it. And you just went from my house, behind the house, out 100 and some feet, and that's how they found it, but.
The issue with that type of camera is running it down a main, you're gonna be underwater most of the time and you won't see anything, so.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a much bigger camera that would fit in 6-inch mains and up. There's actually many different options, but.
Okay. Good, thanks, John. Assessing reports? We don't
Nothing,
have an assessor here.
nothing from assessing.
I do have a question. Where are we with Lost Creek? We talked about that last time.
We are in the process of setting up a conference call for tomorrow at some, I believe, 1 o'clock tomorrow. Did Dulcie get over to your office?
Nope.
Okay, tomorrow or Thursday, to have a discussion.
I was told tomorrow sometime.
We were looking at 1 o'clock, and I don't think she's heard back from them yet to confirm.
What would happen if they don't confirm?
Say again?
What would happen if they do not confirm the teleconference or?
Well, this is an opportunity to discuss why they're non-responsive, and our ultimate act would be to rescind the ordinance and put them back on the tax roll.
But if you don't have the conversation with them, if they refuse to talk about it, where do we go?
They've received written notice multiple times, so the next action that we would take would be to come to the board with a recommendation to rescind the ordinance, put them back on the tax roll for full value.
And we've been screwing around with it for a long time.
You want to comment, Ernie?
No comment, right now it's 4%. If we put it back in the tax roll, it's gonna go way up real quick in that.
Substantially,
Well, that'll
yes.
get their attention, if nothing else. I mean, that's, pretty soon, just get it done and do it.
Yeah, that's the intention of this phone call tomorrow.
It has to come back to the board, and the board has to go through the legal portion to rescind the ordinance.
Yeah, one way or another, you will have a report or an action request for your November 5th meeting.
Okay.
I suppose Ryan's all up to date on all that? If not,
Not Ryan. Ryan's protected from that one.
well, it's an ordinance. I mean, he should at
Well,
least know what it is.
Well, but it's a board ordinance. It's not a zoning ordinance or a planning ordinance.
Yeah.
It's a board ordinance. Yep.
That ordinance was put in place in the 1990s.
Early 90s, yep.
Okay. We'll put it on the November 5th agenda, at least for now. Okay, attorney report. You're up, Roger.
Well, it's been another fairly busy month. We've spent a lot of hours dealing with the Fox Subaru issue. with the conditional use permits and so forth. Had a couple of questions come through on just protocol and procedure on potential applicants that may submit applications for the manager replacement position. Ongoing discussions with regard to a possible liquor license transfer from outside the township into Marquette Township. Followed up with the Nokemen Trail Network folks to see if they had any issues with the most recent license agreement we sent, and they corresponded indicating that they found the most recent revision satisfactory. We've had a couple of other ongoing zoning issues I've been working hand in hand with the zoning administrator on in the past month, and I reviewed the fire truck maintenance agreement with the city, and had a couple of questions on the Urban Cooperation Act funding that came up. And that pretty much summarizes, I think, since the last report.
We've kept you busy. Any questions, Dan?
Is there any resolution with Fox, or where do we stand on that?
We had some fairly promising discussions prior to the Planning Commission last Wednesday, looking for a global resolution of all issues. At this point, we're waiting for a new submission from them in terms of what they might be willing to do. We actually met out on the site to look at specific areas that are at issue, both with respect to the driveway and the plantings in the buffer zone.
Are they planning on trying to replace some of the vegetation, trees and et cetera, or has that been resolved?
Well, they've always planned on doing that. The question is, have things changed enough to require a new site plan or submission on where those plantings would go, whether a berm will be involved in some places. We talked about the pluses and minuses of a fence in some portions of the location or not. So at this point, their landscape architect was present, their corporate attorney was present, their local attorney was present, and a couple of other Fox representatives were also present, both in a meeting here in the conference room as well as a physical on-the-site examination of the different areas. There are a couple of the areas that are going to be troublesome to correct just because of the terrain issues, the rock outcroppings and so forth, and stream relocation that occurred in conjunction with the Department of Natural Resources.
At least it sounds like it's moving forward somewhat anyhow.
Legal law, or the rules, you know, they move slowly.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, thanks, Roger. County meeting, I think we kind of forgot, but I've asked them if they want to meet November 14th. We'll see if Steve and John will pop in, or maybe that week. Don't have anything there. How about community linkage? Anybody has anything they're hearing from the community? Any comments or complaints or ideas? Kind of quiet out there. Committee updates. Dave, you got planning or?
Yeah, real quick, it's the Planning Commission, we just talked about the Fox Subaru Buffer Yard site plan, was tabled from the September 25th Commission meeting, and at the request of the Zoning and Planning Administrator, who was working towards a remedy with Fox Subaru, the agenda item was moved to the November 13th Commission meeting. Marijuana zoning text amendment, the Planning Administrator believes he will have the initial draft completed for review at the November 13th meeting. And then we discussed the Marquette Area Climate and Health Adaptation Grant with Micah's here representing tonight. And the DNR ORV trail proposal was considered and supported by the Commission. The road committee from October 1st was canceled, And tonight's Recreation Committee was canceled.
Anything on events yet? Are we gearing up already for Christmas?
Starting.
Almost? Do we have a date on that for sure yet?
We do, but I don't have it with me.
Just so the public can kind of.
It's between the two meetings in November. Let's see,
That was the second Tuesday in November.
it's a different meeting.
Oh,
Santa Claus we're talking about.
that's what I'm talking about.
It's a circus, that's not a holiday. I can't remember the, you remember the date, Pete?
Christmas tree lighting, the 26th?
26th.
26th
November
of
26th.
November.
11/26. And that's like 6 o'clock, 6:30?
Usually 6 o'clock.
Just so everybody can
6 to
kind of
about
put it on the
8:30.
Westwood Mall.
Yeah, it's usually 6 to 8:30.
Okay, good, thanks for that. And then included in here are draft committee reports. And, so, 9A, reconsider NTN, which is No Cayman on Trail Network, license agreement, final draft.
You do have in your packet a copy of the final draft, which is the red line copy showing you what was lined out and what was added. Clerk Rattari has a clean copy, and Attorney Zappa will be sending him a Word copy so he can put it into his own format, basically, for the agreement. So if you have any questions.
Yes, John?
We've all had the license agreement, final draft, and had a chance to read through it. I'll move to approve the final draft of the non-exclusive trail license agreement with the Quamanon Trails Network as presented, and authorize the supervisor and the clerk to sign the document.
Do we have support?
Support.
Any other comments, suggestions?
Nope.
Do we need a roll call on this since it's an agreement? At least license? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that was easy. Nine B is consider Sustainable Built Environment Initiative for grant application. This is our second reading. Planning Chair Mike Springer and our planning administrator have been working on the grant application, done an awesome job. Now we have a little presentation. You've got the completed application in front of you just for your records. Go ahead, Mike.
So yes, and there's more than just myself working on this grant. Jason, Lynn Durant, my next door neighbor, Milt Bates, he's a retired professor from, English professor from the University of Marquette in Wisconsin. So I've had a lot of good help with this. But basically what I'm going to ask for tonight is the unanimous support of this board. Anytime you're applying for a grant, it's good to have everybody on board. So if you have questions or things that hopefully I can answer them, but hopefully we'll move this forward. My second request is a letter of support on behalf of the board. I'm going to ask Clerk Rattari to do this because we have 2 letters so far. I understand we're going to get a third one. Randy, Manager Gerard produced a letter on behalf of the DDA, and he signed it, so it'd be nice to have something from another board member. So that's what we're about. As you recall, in the first presentation, I brought this up because this was 3 articles that were on the front page of the Mining Journal back in September, and it was addressing just one particular meeting that we had, but kind of a summary of the climate and adaptation projects that we're working towards. And while I'm here talking about the Mining Journal, I apologize to Ms. Bowers for not getting back to you. I always feel like it's important to go to the board first, and really the best person to speak on this would be either one of the two staff members, either Manager Gerard or Jason McCarthy, or Supervisor Lynn Durant. But anyways, so this is in your packet. It gives you an overview of what is going on in Marquette County. I was not aware of this. I always learned something new. We almost have, there's almost 19,000 square miles of land in our county. And this grant opportunity is available to just two municipalities in this county. Also, why we're doing this, even though it may not appear that way today with all the rain we've had in the height of Lake Superior, but we are experiencing warmer weather in the winter, and we have somewhat decreased periods of rainfall. But we also, as we see these storms that are happening, they're more intense and more devastating. So this is a picture of the CAT-F. This was the first group that was formed in the county. CAT-F stands for Climate Adaptation Task Force. And really, I'm here on behalf of our Climate Adaptation Task Force here in Marquette Township. We have formed one. And this is the process they went through. You can see it started way back in spring of 2017. And pretty much this last meeting we went to occurred in September, September the 18th. And so we're basically at the end of this phase, except for this was a meeting we had in January. You see Staff Planner Isaac Peterson. Pete LaRue and myself attended that one in January of this year. And from that, they come up with 4 priority goals, and this is specific to Marquette area, Marquette County and area. Vector awareness is one of them, that climate change can bring more insects to our area, or at least change the composition of our insects we have. Could bring more Lyme's disease. We know that West Nile virus killed 3 adults in Michigan this year, so it could bring more in the way of mosquitoes and other types of insects. Air quality, which is always something that we have to have, and that's one of the things I think we've always felt good about. Our quality of the air up here is good, but there are ways to keep it good, and one of the ways is to try to do our best to prevent wildfires. Emergency response and extreme events. I know certainly the fire department would be concerned about these things. I would guess that Public Works should be concerned about these things. And these are something that we should be considering as we address climate change in our area. The biggest one, and the one that I participated in, and I believe Lynn Durant participated in, was water related. And of course, we have some of the cleanest water around. And we're focusing on stormwater runoff and how that can be lessened and keeping our Lake Superior clean. So the result of this were 3 different guidebooks here that came out, and we have copies of those. We can make available to any of the board members, or also you should have a PDF file that I believe Manager Gerard sent you where you could download these. That's Wayne Bea, and he's the head guy down in Lansing that will be reviewing this application. And here's actually this is from the second meeting, but it talks about and that was the January 29th meeting. And so what we did during that meeting is came up with project ideas to implement. And as I pointed out, came up with ideas to implement. So what they did is they came up with a grant to help communities implement some of these adaptation projects. So working towards these objectives, and applying. We've downloaded the grant. And that's what you have in your packet. And I apologize for I'm sorry, it's not the one you have in your packet. It's the one that Supervisor Durant passed out just before the meeting. I apologize for not having the final copy to you, but it's basically, and there still may be some editing, but basically it's the gist of what we're applying for. It's the application. This grant requirement, the $7,500, has been waived. In addition to that, there's a possibility of another $5,000 towards any project we choose. So as of 1:30 this afternoon, that's the application you have in front of you. Again, if you remember, we took a look at some visioning from Ishpeming, and this is a planning grant. What they're going to do is they're going to come into our community, they'll have open houses, they'll get citizens to participate, and they'll come up with some plans. Now, the idea for us is plans for our corridor. Matter of fact, here's part of the visioning. You remember this slide from last time. This is where we've run the Iron Range roll from for the last 6 years. It still looks like that. And this is part of the visioning. So imagine this on our corridor, our US 41 corridor, a visioning process that would allow us then to go to the business owners and say, this is what we'd like to accomplish here. Are you okay with an increase in millage? But basically, the visioning part is having concepts or conceptual drawings of what you plan to convey to the public is very helpful. So that's it for this evening. I hope that, again, that you'll support this unanimously. I'm certainly open to your questions. And then also Clerk Rattari, if they do, if you'd write a letter too, please. Thank you.
John? Excuse me.
I really appreciate the information that you've presented us at this meeting and the previous meetings on this. I think my own opinion is probably what you're asking for ought to be 2 motions, but that we can work with that.
Okay.
I'll, at this time, move to approve the presented Substantial Build Environmental Initiative, SBIET, grant application as presented with the contacts listed. We can get that behind us and move on to the letter.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the floor.
Support.
Any support? Dan? Comments, questions, anything for Mike?
I think it's good.
Dave?
The last time this was in front of the board, did we just have a consensus that they would continue to work on it, or was there actually a motion to move forward on it?
Well, the direction from the board was to pursue it to the point of being prepared to submit an application.
That was just a consensus thing, okay?
So yeah, we have to approve the grant application.
Yep, I'm just making sure we weren't approving it twice.
Yeah.
Don't matter.
2 grants.
No, we basically had from September 18th, that's when it was announced, and it needs to be in this Friday, October 18th. So we've been busy in 2 weeks.
Done a lot of work.
Yeah. That's why I said you and Jason did the bulk of it.
Well, it takes
That's
a
lot of
team.
work. Yeah.
Always takes a team.
Okay,
Need a roll call?
no. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank
Now,
you.
somebody can move on the letter that's being requested. If
You're on a roll, you know, if you want to
Go
keep
for it.
going.
I move that the request for a letter endorsing it to be authored by the clerk as requested.
Support.
Any comments, suggestions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Two. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. All right, 9C, reconsider Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority request for the Urban Co-op Act funding. I did, let me see if I got a call back. I did not, and I don't have a message. I see that Brad did try to call me back. If you remember the last meeting, I brought the letter from the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority Board requesting support for method of funding so they could complete their 906, Recycle 906 project, $5 million project. It's actually over $5 million. They were short $2.1 million, and I believe they have, well, I know they have have an approved loan, bank loan, if I can get through this without coughing. But they're trying to find another way of funding. The discussion last week and the motion was for me to write a letter not supporting their request for the Urban Act funding. In the meantime, I had a meeting with the county administrator who explained that there's a facet of this act that applies to collection of materials for recycling and composting. Excuse me. So I printed that, gave it to you so you'd have a chance to read it. And their deadline is for their next meeting next week. So that's why I brought it to you the first time in case there were issues or questions. And I would have time to bring it to you again, which I have. So I did email you and tell you that I was holding off on the letter with this new information. The county administrator believes that this is the part of the act that they would be pursuing for the 2.1 million. And he was going to get back to me if their attorney, the county attorney, said something different. And he has not, so I'm assuming this is correct. I did leave a message for Brad to confirm it. And I also asked to the confirmation if you had your information from the last packet. They were requesting $8 per household per year for 5 years to pay off the 2.1 million. The act suggests not more than $2 per month or $25 per year per household. So I just wanted to confirm that $8 with him, but again, I didn't get an answer back. I guess I can check my email just to make sure. Nope, nothing new. Okay. So this is a reconsideration. Let's start with Roger.
Before you dive into this too far, you have considered this once before and voted on it. So you need two motions procedurally. Your first motion will be a motion to reconsider. You haven't formally adopted Robert's Rules of Order, but you use them as a guide. And in order to just reopen discussion on an item that's already been voted on, a motion for reconsideration has to be by a 2/3 majority vote, and that just authorizes you to reopen it and go back into it and discuss it and reconsider.
Okay.
A 2/3 vote, of course, would be on a 7-member board, 5 votes in favor. Then the board is free to reconsider and can vote yes, can vote no on that motion on the action item.
And that's the
And that-
reconsideration is the motion, just to be able to reconsider it.
Your 2/3 majority motion is your first motion, which only allows you to even talk about this,
Okay.
to reconsider it. Then, assuming you get 5 out of the 7 that approve rediscussing it, then you can rediscuss it, and then a motion can be made to either support it or not support it, and that's a simple majority vote, just as you would have done at the last meeting. I just wanted to clarify that
Thank
we're
you for
talking
that.
two different issues there.
Okay. Dave, did you have your hand up first?
Well, assuming that we can't reconsider it until we have a motion to reconsider it, I see no reason to reconsider it at all.
It's not that part, it's this.
Okay. John?
And I agree with that, but I guess well, we're not
This
gonna,
is the act.
I'm
I
not
don't know what that is.
talking about the reconsideration. What I wanna remind people, the question that they sent to us asking for our response the last time was accompanied by the most unusual indication that if we did not respond, they would in fact consider that as a positive reaction. I just want you to know, and I want to remind people historically who we're dealing with. I think that was strange on their part to think that that could slip through this township board. We didn't miss it, and we did act. I agree with the suggestion that there's no reason to reconsider our position.
It's a dead issue.
Okay. So, Pete?
Then right from the start, I mean, when they come out with the, what they want to do, they had no plan, because, I mean, they talked about glass, but they had no contracts with anyone to sell it. They wasn't too sure about grinding it up on the roads and that, you know, so it
There's
just,
an or in
I
there.
agree, but I didn't want to
Or the
continue
agency.
without
So that
making sure you had
doesn't-
all the information.
doesn't
Right.
apply.
Because things
Thank you.
had changed. The direction or I don't know if it's not necessarily a misunderstanding, but even the county administrator wasn't sure. That's why I tried to get Brad. Okay, so we are not, I don't have a motion to reconsider, so we're not reconsidering,
that
and
way.
I still need to write the letter of non-support. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Roger, sorry, did you hear all that? Are you okay, or?
say yes.
We're not reconsidering. So the original motion for me to write the letter of non-support stands. Okay,
That's,
okay,
so you don't get to the second motion essentially then. Yep.
yeah, okay. Ernie?
I just have a question, and I don't know how it's gonna be answered, is that, if they have enough positive on that, then I'm assuming the whole county's gonna move in that direction, and that, at this point in time.
Everyone does not have to participate in this,
If you say no, you're not in it.
right? So everybody else is probably gonna pay more
It'll be
than,
interesting as far as collecting garbage and everything else in that too, so it's,
that's what I asked Scott. I said, do I understand that right? And he said, yep. So it might be $10 instead of $8 for those that participate. I don't know how they can do that because the loan has to be paid off. They're gonna have to have the payment somehow, and they're
It'd
gonna
be
have
nice
to
to have a
charge more
business plan.
something.
Yeah.
As long as we've skipped past that, we're not gonna reconsider it. What I got out of this thing is if you voted to support that they could, once you've supported their motion, they can actually go back and raise it without another vote.
Up to $25.
You know, so those townships that are gonna support this, they can actually do whatever they wanna do to make up for the ones who didn't.
Roger?
Well, actually, you could enter an interlocal agreement that specifies what it would be, and that's what, if you were going to go that route, what I would have recommended, so that did not occur.
That amount,
They would or we would?
we would.
The authority would?
You
that?
and the authority would enter into a written intergovernmental agreement.
For what you were willing to pay,
Cover what? Okay, our participation.
between $2 and $25.
Pete?
Then at the last Marquette County Township Association, there were several of them that didn't agree with what was presented in that, so
I haven't
I
heard
know
anything
Ishpeming's
so far.
having a hard time with it. You know.
Well, and the Ishpeming supervisor was on the phone too with the county with me.
Right.
And Sands Township was there also. I had asked them if they were interested when I knew I was gonna meet with
Right.
Scott. Because they're I don't wanna say the biggest players, but Ishpeming Township's been the most vocal against their methodology, and Sands Township has the landfill, so I just want to make sure everybody was covered, everybody had the same information.
Well, if they don't, if they get enough non-support that it isn't gonna go, then they've still got their financing in line anyway. They're still gonna do what they wanna do.
The case, yeah.
So,
I haven't gotten that confirmed, but I know they went for a loan, so.
well, when he was here, that had already been
Disgust.
and agreed to. They were just looking for some cheaper way to do it. So they still have their financing, and they're still gonna do exactly what they wanna do without any input from the township, so.
Okay, I will take care of that tomorrow. Thank you for that. 9D, consider possible recommendations to MTA for their 2020 legislative policy platform. I did give you some suggestions last time. Again, this is just a recommendation from an email that I got from MTA asking for board participation. If the township wants to give some kind of recommendations or suggestions on what they and their TAC go after for the state. You had given me 3 more options, I put those on here. We could just send him the list, we don't have to do this at all, but since we were asked, I thought I'd better present it to you. If there's some you want to take off. I did look at the, we were talking about local control when we were talking about speed limits a couple weeks ago, and we know that we've lost that participation between the county and the state police. So sand and gravel mining's been a discussion. I've been to quite a few meetings up in Powell Township because they've got a huge bulk of that going on with the mine and everything else. Lindbergh was there numerous times, and the townships are losing more and more local control. The widest range of control that could be, and I believe is still current right now, is just the noise ordinance and the times. This State Bill 431 wants to expand the times to like 6 in the morning till 10 at night, and again, the township would have no authority to say anything. MTA is presenting these items that I gave you as possibles, and I went through and confirmed, this is stuff we've talked about. Obviously, road funding. PFAS, they're all working on. I did talk to the fire chief. Fire training requirements are changing or are recommended to change, and I talked to him, and that's just more training and licensure. And he didn't have a problem with it. He didn't believe that the fire department at all had a problem with what they were requesting because it wasn't anything outlandish.
We've discussed it as well, the chief and I, and it's not so much that what they're proposing is outlandish, it's just how much training can you require for folks that have other aspects of their life that are volunteering or paid on-call firefighters. And, it's getting to the point where it's just the training demands are taking so much time that people are backing away from the fire service.
And he said that it's getting harder and harder to get
It is.
volunteers or applicants at all. So anyway, these are,
Kind of a push towards full-time staffing, as I'm seeing it from the state level, is basically phasing out paid on-call or volunteer units in favor of fully staffed units, which are much more costly to local units.
But what's going to happen is that these smaller communities are going to lose them, because if you look at some of the pictures in the paper that was, these guys aren't 25 years old,
No, but,
And so you're going to squeeze them out, and then what they're going to do?
well, it's consolidating,
Right.
the,
Consolidation of townships and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but
yeah, that's the
I think
ultimate
they're going to hurt
objective is
themselves by doing that.
consolidating.
so, any thoughts? Any,
One thing that's not on there is road commission funding. The mechanism of how they get their funding. Right now it's gas tax, and with the moves towards electric vehicles and alternative fuel vehicles, they will not be getting taxes, but the roads are still being used. So I think there needs to be a look at how road commissions are funded in light of changes in transportation technology. It's not all going to be coming from gas taxes. Can't be.
Randy was just pointing out that I had road funding on here, but it is a little bit different than the commission.
Well, you know, it's not, you know, how do you fix the roads, it's how do they keep operating to fix the roads?
So, thoughts? Yes, Randy?
I like the list, so I'll move to send it to the MTA for their 2020 legislative platform.
Support.
Any other comments?
You can add on there, add the road commission funding.
Yep,
I don't have a
I
problem
wrote
with
it down.
that, so.
This is not a Word document, so I'll add it later.
I guess it's not the standard old argument about they need new funding, it's technology is changing and there's going to be a reduction in taxes from gas sales, so how does the road commission continue to function in that environment without a different kind of funding source? Whether it be by vehicle weight or, you know, whatever, the way taxes are calculated.
Some cars are getting 30 miles a gallon, some are only getting 11 and 12 miles a gallon, so,
Some won't be buying gas at all.
exactly.
Does anybody have anything they want to add to what's on here as far as the issue itself?
I think it's a good starting point. I guess we can always amend it if we
Okay.
feel.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Public comment?
I would just like to thank this board for your unanimous support of this application, and also Clerk Rattari for writing the letter. And if there's anything I can do to help with that letter, I've got lots of information for you, Mr. Rattari. And this is, we don't know what the competition is, but I think we have a well-written grant. I think we stand a really good chance. And even if we aren't one of the two awarded, it's a step in the right direction. So thank you.
Mike?
Thank you.
Any announcements? Anything to share? I have one. We had a request from the census, I don't know what she's called, representative, district representative maybe?
Supervisor, isn't she? Like
Yeah,
a district supervisor?
something. She's the person who has this area. And they're gonna try to do open houses next week, and she asked if we would mind if we put up a table for her out here in the vestibule and let her hand out information next week. So she will be out here Monday, which is just for the publics. That's the 21st. Yep, Monday the 21st. She will be out in the hall from 2 to 4 p.m., handing out information, answering questions. I don't believe she can have the actual questionnaire. I don't think that's allowed yet. But she can give you a rough idea of the importance. She's got lists of what benefits the census and those numbers and how important they are for funding, representation, developers, grant information, loans by the townships or the cities themselves. I mean, there's a myriad of ways that we benefit from accurate census information. And because of some of the maybe misconceptions or whatever happened 10 years ago, many of our children were missed in the count. So that skews what happens with the schools, with their preparation and how many classrooms they have to have and what types of funding they have to have. So it's very important to make sure that everybody's counted. The information is locked away and guaranteed 65 or 75 years that nobody can access it. It's just numbers. Nobody's coming to your door trying to figure out what you're doing to mess up the government. You know, this is not some kind of a conspiracy. We're just trying to count everybody. This has been going on for hundreds of years. It's very important. If you don't answer the census, fill it out completely, then you may be visited. So the easiest way to not have anybody knocking on your door is to just fill out the little boxes and mail it in. And once that goes in, it's just like the ballot. Clerk Rattari talked about the same thing. Once that goes into the computer, that name disappears, that address disappears. I don't even think the name is on there. I think she said that. It's just by address.
Well, and she
There's
also,
no identifier.
she also said too, the residents are gonna have 3 options of doing this. You're gonna have a computer survey online, You can do it by phone or paper copy. So there's going to be, since 10 years have passed, we didn't have two other options before. I know preference-wise, I'd rather do it online myself. It'd be quicker. But Lynn is right. There's going to be no names attached to the survey, so the two get split once you send it in. So all the data is going to be, it's like the ballot. You can't track it, so it's not, the information, you can't even get hacked because it's not useful for anything for any other people, so.
So that's just a heads up announcement. Yes, Randy?
I guess I would just add that, one of the things that's from my seat with regard to the budget and our ability to continue to do things with recreation and a variety of those, some of those grants that are out there are reliant upon meeting certain population thresholds to qualify. And there are many, many grants that we would like to apply for that we simply don't have enough people living in the community to even qualify to apply. So it's important that we have an accurate count of what we know. The last census showed 3,900 people. I think there's a lot more than 3,900 people in this township, 56 square miles worth. Probably right here in the 8% that's developed, we got more than that. But that's what the count was. And as a result of that, we don't qualify for community development block grants. We don't qualify for a number of other grants that are recreational based because you have to have a minimum population of, say, 4,500 or 5,000 to even qualify to apply for the grant. So it's important that we get a good, accurate count of everybody, women, children, cats and dogs if you can do it, but, whatever. The more the better. It puts us in a better position to be able to fund and finance the things that the community residents want. Simple as that.
Randy?
Well, speaking of that, speaking of that with the budget, we have to set up budget sessions
Yeah,
too. So
I
that
thought
would be,
about when I came out.
this would be a good place to do that. And speaking on the announcement we did have a Public Works budget session last week. I think it was, was it last week already?
Last week. Mm-hmm.
And we got through the water part of it, but the board decided they wanted to see the budget in a little different format. So Superintendent of Public Works and the new Superintendent of Public Works are working to change that format. So it's more, I guess it's easier for us to go through it. And we talked about it at length at the last budget work session.
I mean, you actually set a tentative follow-up session for the 23rd at 1 o'clock, but the board was going to act on that tonight.
Yeah,
Thanks
so,
for reminding.
so that's an announcement. We had the budget work session, but we have to schedule that next one for the 23rd. So I'll make a motion that we schedule the next public budget work session for the 23rd of October at 1 o'clock.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Dave, did you, okay.
Yeah,
go
we
ahead.
were also going to set up a budget, or a work session for Public Works to discuss the new superintendent's thoughts on reorganization.
And that was actually the meeting for the 23rd that we had tentatively set.
I don't think we can do them both at the same time. We're going to do them both at the
We
same
can do them
time.
at the
That
same
was,
time.
that was the discussion to bring some information back for you to take a look at.
We can do both
23rd.
subjects at the same time.
Okay, just expand the,
Yeah, we'll have Public Works and what would it be, service worker reorganization, basically, or department
Just
departmental
departmental
structure? That's fine, I'll get the wording, but we can do that in the same work session, 1 to 3,
okay.
on the 23rd.
Are we going to get the paperwork to review before then?
I would assume we will.
Yeah. I heard it on the tape. He said he will have it done.
So what's a good time to expect that? Maybe Friday? Would that be presumptuous? So we can have a few days?
I think we can have, you and I had talked about letting you take a peek at it before we send it to the full board. We can probably do that by tomorrow, which means that's Wednesday. Everything to the full board possibly by the following day, assuming that I didn't completely blow it.
Yeah, you were hard at it when I caught you the other day already. There's a little thing here for Kirk tomorrow at 10, so I could just, if you think you'd be ready for that after that.
That's a surprise.
He said. Anyway, after 10?
I think so.
Okay.
That would be fine. I think it was the sewer memo I sent to Kirk for him to review my interpretation of his proposed budget. He had a few revisions that I had either interpreted incorrectly or didn't have enough information on. Sent it back to me, so that would probably be the first one I could send to you.
Sounds good. Busy day tomorrow then. Okay.
Sorry, nobody will see it before 10 o'clock tomorrow anyway.
We
so.
have a motion and a second. We need to vote on it.
Sorry. Oh, because you were gonna add the, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We'll post that tomorrow, late.
Okay. Any other announcements? Okay. Managers report.
Very briefly, you do have a printed report. There are only two items that I want to touch on. Number one is the roundabout construction is going quite well, and I'm using it fairly regularly, trying to gauge traffic. The westbound traffic is flowing very well. The eastbound traffic, only certain times when it's down to the one lane. There is a wait. It's not a real significant wait because it is spread out fairly. I guess the biggest issue is if you're observing the speed limit, you will not go past your turns. I heard a number of not really complaints, but comments about it's hard to get into Walmart. It's not hard to get into Walmart if you're going the speed limit and you see the sign and turn. There are two entrances, two ways to get in. Just a reminder to the public, and I observed it Sunday, just a reminder to the public, the long sloping driveway is entrance only, not exit. Several times I noticed multiple cars coming down that way and coming nose to nose with cars coming in. So it is an exit only. I'm sorry, an access only. The exit is the former driveway by Michael's. That is the only exit out of the Walmart lot. They're moving quickly on it. It looks like they are going to be basically ready to get the paving done here, depending on weather, obviously. It's pretty wet today, but looks like they're very close to getting ready on those eastbound lanes to get that south side done. The other thing is for people that are utilizing the off-road areas in the township, two very significant seasonal hunting seasons are starting. October 1st, the bow hunting season started. November 15th, the gun deer season opens. Township properties are usable for those hunting events, so make sure that if you're out in the woods biking, hiking, walking your dog, whatever, you make yourself visible, either by wearing bright colored clothing or making some noise. You will likely encounter hunters in that south area and the north area where the trails are. And they are legally there. So that's a pastime that can equally be enjoyed to your biking, hiking, or walking. So just be cautious. That's all I had.
Questions for the manager? John?
Just, is there any encouraging word on the state police grant for transform?
For the generator,
Generator?
the encouraging word is for other applicants. We did not make the cut. We did not have enough outages to qualify. To qualify for consideration, you had to score a 1.0. We scored a 0.03. Simply because we have not had long enough and enough of power outages. But on the positive side, our generator has been received. It's in the process of getting permits for the installation of the gas line and the generator, and we're still looking to have it in by the end of the month.
Thank you.
Anything else for the manager? Pete?
Randy, when you're talking to the police department, or if you do that. I think at Control Park, people are driving faster and faster. I think they might take their frustrations out from being held up a little bit, but I have the opportunity to watch around by my house, and there's a lot of kids riding bikes,
Yeah.
scooters,
More and
people
more.
walking their dogs. So when I'm sitting there with my leg in the air and looking out the window, I don't know how
Not
they
sitting
stop
with
at
your
Wright
leg in
Street.
the air.
I don't know how they stop at Wright Street.
You might want to explain that a little bit.
I was gonna say, yeah, tell the public that you're incapacitated with your ankle.
Yeah, it is.
But they
and-
are going so darn fast.
Well, and you'll notice that there's been an uptick in the number of tickets written as well. Deputy Lundquist and Deputy Gill have both been spending a lot of time in Trowbridge Park itself, because we've had several complaints, and people are speeding.
4 or 5 years ago, we had some people riding real fast, around the corners and that. And I was working in the yard, and I had a sledgehammer, so I stepped out in front of him, I put it on his hood, I said, "Next time it's yours." He never came around no more. But, I mean, they're getting carried away, because in our area, there's so many kids out there. It just
Well,
bothers me.
what I would suggest for folks that are concerned about that, I mean, Trowbridge is a relatively small area. People know who's speeding, and they know who's violating the law. Give us a call. If you have a license number, give us a call. We're not going to attach your name to it, but we will provide that license number to the sheriff's deputy, who can find out who the owner is, and will pay them a visit. We've done that in other areas of the township where certain individuals were abusing the speed limit, and they were paid a visit, and it stopped. So if you observe that and you know either a description of the vehicle or a license plate number, would be even better. Give my office a call, let us know. We will pass that along to the sheriff, and it'll be followed up on. We are still, though, on US 41, we are still seeing the same behaviors with erratic driving, speeding, distracted driving in the safety zone. Lots of tickets are being written in the construction zone. Those are double fines and double points on your license.
Dave?
Yeah, I had a question that I think it was at the work session you had mentioned about the computers were going to need to get dropped off.
Yes, that was one of the things I was going to talk with you afterwards. They're going, 906 is going to be coming in to update your security. Help me.
Norton antivirus.
The antivirus, I was drawing a blank on it, to update the antivirus. So we're scheduling to have them in here on Sunday to do it for all of the laptops and all of the tablets and all of the desktop units, laptops, desktops, tablets, everything. So if you could have, either drop them back in here or get them into my office by the end of the day Friday, so we can have them here Sunday. They're going to do them all at once. There's 55 of them that have to be done throughout the township. So then you would have them back Monday. They're going to spend the day here Sunday doing nothing but uploading the antivirus, the new antivirus on it. And it's a widely expanded antivirus because there's so many new attacks happening. So, yes, so either whatever you have, your laptop, tablet, or our desktops here at the office, the server's already been uploaded. They're all going to be done at the same time, Sunday, starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay?
Anything else for the manager? Okay, review our motions, please, Mr. Randy.
First motion was the consent agenda as presented, and that was approved. Second motion was the approval of the regular agenda as presented, and that was approved. The third motion was, let's see here, to approve the board action item sample form, and I'll get that sent out tomorrow. Fourth motion was to approve the NTN license agreement, final draft, and authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign and send that back to them for final execution. Fifth motion was to approve the second reading of the grant application. That was approved. The sixth motion was to authorize the clerk to write a letter of support for the grant application, and that was approved. Seventh motion was to approve the suggested items for the MTA 2020 legislative policy platform, and that was approved. And the eighth motion was to schedule a work session for Public Works and Department restructuring on Wednesday, the 23rd of October from 1 to 3, and that was approved.
Excellent, thank you. So the only thing I have right now for the November 1st meeting is Lost Creek update for the agenda. If somebody brings in something else. Any board member comment? Pete?
I listened to sorry I didn't make the last work session, but I listened to it, and I think it was a very good meeting. I like the change, the way the changes are, you've been discussing with the Public Works. I think that's the right way to go, so. Oh. The city of Marquette's Public Works, Randy. All right, I'll stop there, but it was a very good, interesting meeting, so. I'll shut my mic off. With legs in the air.
I can't do that, though. Sorry. Yes, Ernie.
I attended the Business Association meeting today, and it's just an association. They're talking about different things they want to do in the future, and they're concerned with what's happening on 41 in front of their businesses and that. And they got a report from the DDA and some of the directions they're going, and they're very enthusiastic about that at this point in time, and that too, so they're going that way. There's also, if you haven't received it in the newspaper, the Marquette Township Community Profile came out, and if you haven't had a chance to read it, I would say read it. I was very impressed with what was in there at this point in time in that. So they're going out, they have 51 or 52 members right now, they have a number of them that they're dealing with, so they're hoping to increase that quite a bit more in that. So, they're trying to get the word out and trying to work all the businesses within the township and that, and trying to get them all involved, so they know what's going on in that too, so.
So our joint meeting with them is Tuesday, November 19th, if you
19th.
didn't remember that,
I got it right here, and I forgot this.
here in the community room.
Right.
Okay, any other comments? Nothing? Just need one more motion then.
So
Up to
moved to
you.
adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just one. All opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned at 7:48.